Hi everyone. I just wanted to do this little watch review of this watch that I bought recently. This is a watch from a brand called Charlie Paris, which is a French watch company. I recently visited Paris and wanted to bring back, a watch from Europe, and I did some research online and found this company, Charlie Paris, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Charlie Paris because it seems to me that maybe not too many people have heard of them. I only heard of them just recently when doing this research, and so I wanted to do this little review. And um, so this is a watch from Charlie Paris that they call the Initial Calendar Sage, and this is an analog watch that shows in addition to the time, this shows the day of the day number of the month, the day of the week, and the month. And this is also a mechanical watch and an automatic. And for those unfamiliar, this does not use a battery or a quartz crystal like a lot of watches in the market. This is a traditional mechanical watch, which means that it uses a mechanism of gears powered by a spring, so you have to wind it. And it's also automatic, which means that it has a weight inside that rotates with your wrist movements. And so as you're moving your wrist when you wear it, it'll keep itself wound and powered. Um, and they say that this has a power reserve of about 40 hours. So, if you let it sit too long, then it will stop running. So you have to remember to, to wind it regularly. Or since this one's automatic, you can buy a watch winder to put it in, which will rotate the watch and keep it wound for you if you want to keep it running. Then, some people say that it is important to keep it running or to wind it regularly. And so, they say that if you let it sit for too long without running, that could damage it. This is my first mechanical watch, so I'm not sure to what extent that's true, and I've heard people say both things about it. But I did buy a watch winder for this, and so I could keep it, running if I want to. And also, to be honest, if you want to buy a watch that's practical and easy to maintain, it's probably best to buy a quartz battery-powered watch, because a quartz battery-powered watch is probably superior in most ways because a quartz watch is a lot more accurate and does not really require maintenance aside from just changing the battery. A mechanical watch, you do have to maintain them and bring them in, to be maintained every 5 to 7 years or so, because they might need some more lubrication or possibly even maybe replacing a gear or something, just due to wear and tear and that kind of thing. So, but the reason you'd buy a mechanical watch is I think if just you're really into watches and you like the craftsmanship. And I think it actually is pretty cool. Have a mechanical watch, and I just personally think it's pretty cool. There's no battery; you just wind it, and it runs. I think the craftsmanship that goes into these things is pretty cool. Um, and also, if you flip it over, you can kind of see some of the internals, and you can see that weight. So this weight rotates as you rotate the watch, and that's what keeps it wound when you move your wrist. And I just think that's pretty cool. So that's what that looks like. And this watch uses a Miyota 9122 movement. Miyota, no, the movement is the mechanism inside that powers the watch basically. And Miyota, I've done some research, and Miyota is actually a subsidiary of Citizen watches, and the Miyota movement is made in Japan. So, what Charlie Paris does is they take those movements and then they assemble the watch in Paris or in France. And so, and that's what happens there. Um, I've had this watch for just a few weeks now, and overall I think the quality is pretty nice. Um, and Charlie Paris, their price point is, I'd say, probably in between Seiko and maybe not nearly as expensive as Rolex. And so, for instance, this watch was priced in Paris at 645 euros, and although you can buy them online and have them shipped to your country, but I decided to go into one of the retail locations in Paris and buy this. And also, as a result, everything on the face of the watch is in French, which I think is pretty cool. um, but yeah, no, also, if you buy something like a watch in Europe, you're going to pay a VAT tax, and it is possible that when you leave the country, you can at the airport you can go scan your a receipt, because the retailer hopefully can provide a receipt for you, so you can get a refund on the VAT tax, or at least a partial refund. And so, which is something that I did, And at the airport in France, there's two counters. One, if you pay cash for something, there's another counter where somebody will give you a cash refund for the VAT tax. But if you pay with a card, there's another place you can go to that has a kiosk where you just scan the VAT receipt, and then you'll be issued a refund on your card. So I did that and I was able to get a refund. Um, excuse me. Um, but yeah, I've had this watch for a few weeks. I think the quality does seem pretty nice. I just like the overall look and just the craftsmanship that goes into a mechanical watch. And also, when I was there, I wanted to buy a metal band for this. And what is nice about these Charlie Paris watches is that they have they use quick release straps, and so they're pretty easy to remove the strap and put on a different strap. And they do sell other straps there, so you can buy straps of different colors and everything. And but they didn't have the metal band at the store that I wanted, and so I just opted to buy it like this. And this has a what they call a chocolate colored leather strap. So I just bought this as is. But for me, I found that this even on the biggest setting, this is a little bit tight on my wrist, and so I did end up buying a metal strap. But I bought one on Amazon, because you can buy a metal band from Charlie Paris online, but they want about 145 US dollars for the metal band, and I found a metal band on Amazon for about $18, and I opted to do that. But um, yeah, and I just think this is a nice quality watch. It looks nice, at least to me. Um, and Charlie Paris does have other models, so if you want to look into them, I would encourage you to do that. Um, yeah, so overall, I think this is a pretty cool watch. If you're into watches, and especially if you like to collect, I think it'd be worth looking into Charlie Paris. If you're into European watches, um, so yeah. He also wanted to show the box that this came in. It has this sleeve on it here, and you slide this off, and then when you open the box like this. So yeah, it has this cool little leather case that the watch came in. So in here is a little thing the watch was attached to. And the box also has this compartment in the bottom for the instruction manual. So the instruction manual is right here. This is what came with the watch. So yeah, this is all pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so if anyone wanted to see, this is the watch in the watch winder that I bought. So it's rotating the watch to keep it wound.